What is good, everyone? Welcome to this video. I'm Charlie from Conscious Creation, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you that of the mirror principle and how you can start to apply it in your reality so you can start to shape your reality much more to your liking. So in this video and the next couple of videos, I'm going to be sharing with you these principles. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the first three and how you can apply them in your physical reality to start seeing these results. So let's start off talking about our physical reality. Everything that we can see, touch, smell, taste is all part of our physical reality. But we also have the non-physical reality. And the non-physical is beyond most people's perception, but they occupy the same space. So the physical and the non-physical occupy the same space. Now, the non-physical can be seen as the alternative space or the alternative flow. We are going to refer to this line here being the mirror of reality. And this is the physical part of reality, which we are all familiar with. But behind the mirror is this alternative flow that reflects through this mirror and into our physical reality. Now, in this alternative flow, there are infinite possibilities. There are no limitations. So in this alternative flow, there are known as these infinite sectors, and within each sector is a script. So when you go along and start creating your reality, start choosing what you want to experience, that relationship, more abundance, a better lifestyle, a new career, whatever it might be. When you start to imagine that in your mind and go on this process of what is known as identity shifting, selecting that possibility, you are selecting a sector in this alternative flow. And that's going to be reflected in time through the mirror of reality. But I'm going to share with you what is known as inner and outer intention. Now, inner intention is what most people do to create their reality. It's focusing on the step-by-step process of creating the things that they want. And this does work. However, inner intention focuses purely on just physical reality. So therefore, there's lack, there's limitation, and there's a stronger sense of feeling like you have to push and shove in order to create and get things that you want. Whereas when we focus on outer intention, this is the process of visualizing, feeling the feelings in your body as if you already have what you want. You are now tapping into the alternative flow, the infinite space. And within there are infinite possibilities. And in this alternative space, when we start to select a certain script, a certain sector, and remember, a script is a timeline. It's a timeline that we can choose. And within that script, all of your thoughts, feelings, actions, and behavior are going to come naturally to you. So within this alternative space, that's when our circumstances, our conditions, our opportunities start to show in our physical reality. And it's all done through that of identity shifting by focusing on what you would prefer to experience. This is what selects a possibility in the alternative flow. This brings me to the first mirror principle, and that is the mirror world reflects your relationship to it. The mirror world reflects your relationship to it. So, in other words, your world is reflecting your expectations. If you expect things to work out, if you're positive, if you're like, I know things are going to work out in my favor, that is then confirmed back to you as a truth. If you're more negative, if you're like, things aren't going to work out for me, things never go the way that I want them to, I knew that wasn't going to work, that is confirmed and reflected back to you as a truth. Let's say this camera is a mirror and I'm standing in front of the mirror. if I want to change my reflection, I don't try and change the mirror. I don't try and change the mirror itself. This is what a lot of people do through that of inner intention. If I want to change the reflection, I smile and the mirror smiles back. But in reality, in order to change our reflection, we need to change our relationship to it. And that is expecting different things to happen to us. It's like the world says, go on, guess. Oh, the world sucks. Things never work out for me. I'm just not a lucky person. And that is confirmed back to you as truth. So we need to realize this, and we need to change our attitude to the world. And the world will start to reflect this back to you in the mirror of reality. So the question is, why do most people's dislikes, why do most people's fears come true, and yet our desires, hopes, and dreams don't tend to work out? So this brings me onto the second mirror principle, and that is your reflection is formed with the unity between your mind and your heart. The reflection is formed between the unity of your mind and your heart. So once you have a desire and your mind starts to agree with this, in other words, those doubts and limitations don't start to come up, you start to select that possibility in the alternative flow. You have activated outer intention. So when your soul desires something and your heart knows this is what you want to have in your life, often what will happen is your mind will come in and it will come up with all of these limitations, these doubts. We can't do this. This isn't possible. Usually through that of intellect, because again, your mind can only tap into the physical world. So it can only see through that of what it has experienced. So it analyzes things, it judges things. It's based on a survival mechanism. And this unification between your mind and heart is broken. So your heart desires something, but your brain says, intellectually, we can't do this. And therefore, outer intention becomes blurred and broken. So the thing is because our brain is wired more for survival mechanism, is outer intention is usually achieved for things that we don't want. So if your heart truly fears something and truly dislikes something, your brain will start to agree with it because it's based on survival, and we're wired more for negativity. Oh, I don't want to experience that. I don't want to lose my money. I don't want that relationship not to work out. And your mind starts to have all of these doubts, and there's an agreement between your heart and mind. And you end up selecting a sector in the alternative flow, and that ends up becoming your physical experience. Whereas our desires, when our heart desires something, our mind goes against it. So how can we start to get the unification between our mind and heart on the things that we actually want to experience? And this brings me to the third principle, and that is to realize that there is a delay in reaction to the dual mirror. There is a delay in the reaction to the dual mirror. So let's say you want to experience something and you can get that unification between your heart and your mind. In other words, you truly desire something, you have that abundance, you have that dream life, whatever it might be, and your heart and your brain can agree with it straight away. Then you have set about outer intention. If you can't do this, if you can't achieve the second mirror principle, we have to go on a lengthier siege in order to get this unification between your heart and your mind so you can achieve what you want. But I'm going to share with you how we can do this. So remember that your reality is just like a normal mirror. You smile at the mirror, but in our physical reality, it takes a delay. It takes time before we start to see the mirror smiling back at us. And sometimes it can be so slow that it seems imperceptible. It can seem like things aren't changing, but it is, and we need to have faith. Many times people become enthusiastic, they're interested in something. Usually this is the problem with the shiny object syndrome. You're going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, and you don't stay with something long enough. Remember, because reality acts in a delay, if you're enthusiastic about something but then go on to something else, you're not giving the mirror of reality enough time to start reflecting what you actually want to experience. So we need to remember that we need to do this step by step. And when you start to visualize what you want, that end goal, that relationship, that lifestyle, that abundance, whatever it might be, okay, we need to work with that slide, with that image, step by step. And this is the purpose of identity shifting. This is what we do in the Reality Shift program. We go through this process step by step of shifting our identity so we can get this unification between your heart and your mind. And remember, we need patience and awareness for this to work. So the delay time it takes for what you want to come into your reality depends on the complexity of it. So if you want much more money, better relationships, a better lifestyle, a better career, and you haven't got any of that, it's going to take a longer time, a longer delay till you start to experience all of those things. It's like a fashion show. If you go to a fashion show, you see all of the models come out and they're wearing their glamorous clothes and everything's perfect. But behind the scenes, behind the fashion show, you've got everyone working frantically. They're knitting and doing all of the clothes. It's like that of the alternative space. It's working behind the scenes so we can then bring it into our physical reality. But if there's more clothes to sort out, there's more people to sort out, it's going to take a little bit longer for things to then come into your physical reality. It's still going to happen, but we just need to have more patience. So when you set about this outer intention, when you start to focus on what you prefer to experience and you focus on this process of identity shifting and tap into that alternative flow, doors start to open. This is when opportunities, circumstances, and conditions start to work in your favor. Now, when you start to see all of these parts of your manifestation start to show up in your physical reality, what happens? Your mind starts to believe because it's seeing it in the physical world. Now, as your mind starts to believe more and more and more, gradually the unification between your heart and mind gets stronger and stronger. And as it gets stronger and stronger, this starts to get reflected in the mirror of reality by you actually experiencing what you desire. So remember, we need to change our conscious outlook on reality. The world doesn't change. We can only change our relationship to it. The world does not change. We can only change our relationship to it. And that's how we change the reflection. There's something called an amalgam, which is basically, this is one of the powerful ways that we can change our attitude to the world. So these are some examples that you can use. You can use anyone's or create your own to whatever feels good for you. But such as, the world always takes care of me, or the world always chooses what is best for me, or perhaps everything is working out best case scenario. And we need to take a bit of time to wire this into our mind. So many times we're like, oh, things aren't going to work out. Things don't work in my favor, whatever it might be. And we're so used to that. Remember, the world always says, guess what? And it is always confirmed by your expectations. Now, this is not wishful thinking. This is how you shape your reality. So when you persist with this amalgam, the world always takes care of me. You need that momentum to get it started, but it will get stronger and stronger until it becomes a habit. And then it becomes so much easier. And then once it is easy and it is wired within yourself, amazing things will start to happen. You'll go on a bicycle ride and it will suddenly start raining. But as soon as it starts to rain, you'll suddenly find the perfect place for shelter. Why? Because you have this wired within you. The universe takes care of me. It's like a mother and it's just taking care of you. But remember, it's this mirror that just responds to what you believe to be true. And many times we're always doing things by ourselves. We become quite stubborn. We're like, I'm going to do this by myself. I'm going to show the world what I can do and nothing's going to stop me. Now, this is where the pushing, the shoving, and the struggle comes from, because we're focusing purely on our physical reality. When we tap into that alternative flow, when we select that possibility, it will meet us halfway. Okay, so you focus on this step-by-step process on achieving what you want. But remember, the conditions, the circumstances, the how will show up to you, because the alternative flow is meeting you halfway. And when you work with this alternative flow, things become so much more enjoyable, because again, in this alternative flow, there are infinite possibilities and infinite abundance. There is no competition. You don't have to scramble to get the things that you want. It already exists. It's just selecting it as a possibility. So thank you for watching. Peace and take care.